Let's start things off with Corey McClenathan in the left lane, David Baca in the right lane. These guys used to be teammates. Corey Mack gets the win, 4:64 at 3:09 in a whole shot. Baca ran quicker but lost. Then it was Jim Head in the right lane, taking care of business on Paul Romine. Head goes 4:61 but hurts the motor right at the stripe, 280 miles an hour. Then it was Doug Herbert putting away Rhonda Hartman, and Doug also goes kaboom right at the top end, 483, 234 miles an hour. Now watch what happens. Doug Collette's going to be kicking himself. He is low for the round. He runs a 4.586, 320 miles an hour, but a red light gives the win to Clay Milligan. Then what about Darrell Russell and John Smith? Russell goes 4:58, 319 miles an hour. John goes a 4:84 at 2:91. Then it was Bruce Litton in the left lane. You're on board with Tony Schumacher in the right lane. Tony smokes the tires, goes down to another first-round defeat, 4:63 for Bruce Litton. Then Don Lampus and Larry Dixon. Dixon with a brand-new car, 460 flat, 321 miles an hour. Talk about impressive? Yes, it was. Then 18-year-old Josh Starcher in the left lane. Gave up the prom. Well, clock struck midnight. Brandon Bernstein struggles to a 5:47, but gets to the line first at 186 miles an hour. So, here's how it will be in round number 2. Corey McClenathan, Darrell Russell have lane choice on the left side. Larry Dixon and Bruce Litton on the right. Now, what happened in funny cars? Well, we'll tell you. Dale Creasy and Tommy Johnson Jr. will lead it off for us. Creasy over in the left lane. TJ over in the right lane. Tommy goes 5:03, 231 miles an hour, and you can see he also had some engine damage. He banged the blower, but he would advance. Cruz Pedregon then would take care of business over Gary Dencham. Dencham went to the finals here last year. Cruz goes 4:92 to Dencham's 5:04. Then it would be Bob Gilbertson and Tony Pedregon. Tony, the #1 qualifier, had never won a round here in 3 years at Bristol. Well, he has now. 489, 305 miles an hour. Gilbertson smoked the hides early. That would bring up the boss, John Force, closest to you in the right lane. He would go low for the round. 4.88 seconds, 3:03 is the mile an hour mark. Frankie, never a factor in this one. How about Tim Wilkerson and Whit Bazemore? Whit over in the right lane. 497, 298 miles an hour. Hurt the motor, though, as he comes through the stripe. That's okay. They can rebuild it. They got the budget. Then it'd be up to Scotty Cannon and Johnny Gray. Cannon in the left lane. Johnny over in the right lane. Johnny goes 493, 301 miles an hour to put Cannon on the trailer. Next up, Del Worship, Gray's teammate. He would take care of Ron Capps, 492 to a 598. That's a third career round win versus Capps for Del Worship. And Dean Scusa, Gary Selsey would finish off the round. Selsey would go up and smoke. Scusa would go 495 at 302 miles an hour for the win. So now Tony Pedregon and Whit Bazemore have the lane choice on the left side. And it'll be John Force and Cruz Pedregon with the lane choice over on the right. Now let's flash back to Saturday night. Keep your eye on the right-hand side of your screen because Larry Dixon has all kinds of serious trouble. Destroys the Murph McKinney chassis. Luckily, he is okay. And he has already won with a brand new car in round 1. Let's get more from Dave.
Larry Dixon can't figure out what the fuss is all about. After all, race cars crash all the time at Bristol, right? Well, not at the dragway, over at the speedway maybe. And following that well-documented crash that kept this team up until 2:30 in the morning, they put together a new race car that saw its first round win as the wheel turned for the first time, exactly the way Dick LaHaye wanted it to go down, 4.60 seconds. In fact, to come into this pit today, you might not know that anything happened, as this team is now taking a business-as-usual approach for the rest of the day. Parker?
Dave, the bodywork of funny car champion John Force is under repair, and perhaps so too are the hopes for another championship for John Force. He qualified second here in Bristol, the best qualifying effort for him in 2003. He was low ET in the first round of competition, and to paraphrase Yogi Berra, John Force would be the first to tell you that these championship hopes aren't over until they're over. Dave?
2 years ago, Bruce Litton's race shop in Indianapolis, Indiana was terrorized by fire, totally destroyed. And while it's taken a long time for this man to come back, he's ready to put it behind him and move on to greener pastures. A greener pasture he's found so far in the great state of Tennessee, a place he lived until he was 10 years old. greener pasture because he got his first round win of 2003 with that 465. In fact, this car almost bracket-like in that range, but according to co-crew chiefs Doug Cook and Mike Wolfarth, they say that consistency will win races. So that's the approach that they are taking as they head into round number 2, an approach that also consists of a positive mental attitude. To Parker.
For 1992 Funny Car champ Cruz Pendragon, ever since starting his new team last year at the beginning of the 2002 season, more often than not, the light at the end of the tunnel has been a train. But there's been a change with this team, and I don't mean a change in blowers or cylinder heads or clutch tune-ups, but a change in chemistry. This 9-member crew is starting to gel, and with that gelling, there's been a change of fortune. Today, he's already gotten past Gary Densham, number 2 in the Funny Car points, and he's looking forward to heading into the quarterfinal round.
Thanks, guys. When we come back, Scott Jeffrey and the rest of the Pro Stock Factory Hot Rods when we return to Bristol Dragway. Scott Jeffrey won 9 races in the 90s driving for Team Mopar. This season, the New Jersey native rejuvenated his career in the Ford Escort. After failing to qualify in Pomona, his round record now sits at 5-4, including a runner-up finish in Houston. And it'll be Scott going up against Jed Coughlin. He'll be over on that right side of the ladder. Arrow indicates who has the lane choice. And the first matchup we're going to focus in on is going to be Ron Krischer and Terry Adams. In fact, they are staged and ready to go. Krischer in the right lane just crushes Adams off the line and takes the win easily. 690 at 199 miles an hour. Terry a 704 at 198.
Well, Ron Krischer just did a great job. 17 thousandths from perfect. He's been red light a few times this year, but he seemed to definitely had his game face on today. Perfect light, got it right down, got all the shift points just right to run a 690 in the heat of the day. I think that's going to be a pretty good run for this session.
And as you see Jed Coughlin backing up for the defending Powerade champion. Take a look at these statistics. They're a little bit misleading, though, because if you remember, the first half of last year was where Jed had all his problems, and then he comes in the back half to win 8 times. He has yet to win this year and finds himself 5th in the championship chase, and he is up against Scott Jeffrey on.
Yeah, but you know, Marty, like we saw last year, you can never count Jeggy out, but he's got a tough race with him. Scott Jeffrey on that Ford has been running very good. Scott is pumped, and these are 2 great drivers going head-to-head.
Separated in qualifying by 3/1000th of a second, so keep your eye on the tree. First off the line could be the winner. Got a bit of a staging duel going. Coughlin by 2/100ths. And it's Coughlin, 693 to a 694.
693 to his 694. Good job. Just felt like it washed down a little bit, wanted to go right. So we're just going to have to get a hold of that on this hot track today. But got by with it.
Okay, he's talking about it washing out and going to the right.
Well, it's basically they're trying to control the tire spin. Had a little bit too much tire spin, let the car wash to the right. Almost got her out of the groove, but he reeled it back in, kept it right on the edge of the good rubber there to get it down the racetrack. You can see him sawing on the wheel when he left the starting line, trying to pull that car back to the left. Then once he got her going, it was nice and straight down for the win.
And as you take a look one more time, the margin of victory, half a car length. So now it'll be up to Greg Stanfield and Mark Wisner to decide which one of these 2 will move on to second round action. They have not met this year. And of course, Stanfield and Wisner, both of them came out of the Pro Stock truck ranks. Red light, Wisner. And then Stanfield runs a 694 at 199 miles an hour, and Stanfield's light was a 010. Very, very good. Now that is the first red light we have seen today, but take a look. Remember when we talked about the introduction of the LEDs, the light emitting diodes? we had a rash of red lights. Pomona, Phoenix, Gainesville, dropped a little bit at Las Vegas and didn't have a single one at Houston.
Yeah, they definitely had to make the adjustment because the light illuminated about 0.03 of a second quicker than the old incandescent bulbs, and obviously a lot of the Pro Stock guys are very quick. Let's look at the specs here, what the Pro Stock guys will do between rounds when they have 75 minutes. They'll basically replace or service the clutch. They check, and a lot of teams will replace all 8 valve springs after every run. They pack the chutes, add the fuel, and obviously if they hurt the engine or drop a valve, normally they'll change the engine, and the teams are able to do that in the amount of time allotted to them.
And you can see track temperature is climbing. That's the warmest it's been all weekend. Barry Grant will be in the left lane up against Kurt Johnson. And these guys have met before. More on that in a second. Kurt, since he got that brand new Cavalier, take a look. It was back at Gainesville this year. 3 races. He has 2 wins, 11 up, only 1 down. And this is now his 8th season where he has won more than 1 race.
Hey, Marty, if I was a Pro Stock wannabe, I'd want to be like Kurt Johnson right now because he's been class of the field.
Well, he just tattooed Grant on the tree. And he put a postage stamp all over him. 689, 201. And it's mailing him back to the trailer and on home. Let's go to Bill.
A big favorite with Ford fans and a big favorite with fans in general is this Wild Nitro Fish Escort, and I'll bet you'd like to have that one back again.
Yeah, I would. It was a tight run. I mean, you run jaggy, but my motor guys got me some more power for next week. I think the head gaskets are going out of this before we started today, but you know Bobby Pinella, he's going to make sure I'm prepared next weekend.
Yeah, you haven't seen the last of this, Ford. Haven't seen the last of us either. Got to take a break. We'll be back with more from Bristol in just a moment.
Back here at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley Nationals, Pro Stock action, first round coming your way with George Marnell and Bruce Allen. And yes, shoot off the fireworks in Las Vegas because George Marnell has qualified for his first race. What a struggle it has been for the Matco Tools machine. I mean, this guy last year when we went to Las Vegas was leading the points chase. This year, he had to buy a seat in the grandstands just to watch.
Well, you know, it's just amazing how competitive Pro Stock is. We've said it a number of times, but I'll tell you one thing. Every car that qualified in this field did it on their session last night when the conditions were cool after that rain delay. A lot different conditions today.
Oh, both cars struggle. Allen gets back into it sooner. A 742 is going to win it. I can't tell you the last time a 742 won a Pro Stock drag race.
I can't tell you the last time I've seen a Pro Stock car that side. Watch Bruce Allen in the right lane. Wow, that thing gets sideways. I'm sure he had to get out of the throttle just like he was in a fuel car, get that thing straightened back up to get down the racetrack. I mean, that is an amazing job. I mean, obviously, if George was ahead at the time, he would have gave up the ghost, but man, he knew he had a shot at it, and he wasn't going to quit until he got to the finish line first. What a great driving job.
Take one more look, and it is wicked on that starting line. Look at it, just sashaying all over the place. Credit to Bruce Allen. Great recovery job, and he'll meet up with Kurt Johnson in the next round. To say the least, he will not have lane choice. In fact, let's talk to Kurt. He's with Bill.
Last couple of years, we've had a lot of tough break Kurt Johnson interviews, but we haven't had many this year.
Yeah, this ACW Chevrolet has been real consistent, real fast lately. Extreme condition change from last night. Track temperature's gone up 25 degrees out there. Chevrolet stood up real high, and I thought it was going to shake. We may have to get in the gearbox. Kevin Horst is going to have to make gear selection. We can get this thing down the track. Joe Cottle's keeping the Goodyear tires on the back perfect.
Yeah, and it is going to be tough today because the track is probably going to be about 120 degrees by the time we get to the next round.
And right now we're going to find out if Mike Edwards or Mark Powick will advance. So far in Pro Stock, only Jed Coughlin has won out of that left lane. Drives around him, 690, 199 miles an hour to a losing 697. Take a look at the incrementals. I mean, Mike Edwards was seeing a lot of summit on the side of Mark Powick's car all the way to half track. The arrow indicates who's leading at that point. And there is the winner with a 690. Let's check it again with Bill.
Well, that looked pretty goofy. You've heard the term winning ugly. We got our Speedco Pontiac down to this end first, but it wasn't pretty.
What happened?
Well, we were a little too aggressive. I guess the track changed more than what we adjusted for, and it just kind of spun the tires up, shook a little bit, got out of the groove. So it's what we got.
Bruce would love to win this race. A couple years ago, he was a low qualifier and got snake bitten eliminations.
Back at the starting line, another guy who would like to win would be Greg Anderson. He wants to get back into pace after that first round upset at Houston. Cost him the points lead. He's now second in the championship chase, and he's up against the guy he's never raced, Taylor Laster. Now, Taylor has won in the old Pro Stock Truck division and did very well in qualifying here. I mean, this car was consistent. This was not a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, Greg Anderson's going to have his work cut out for him, and I can understand where Greg's coming from. He's got a very good car, and you don't want to make a mistake by red light and give him away, but on the other hand, you still got to be aggressive at hitting that tree so you don't get beat on a hole shot.
Which is exactly what happened back in Houston. Big advantage, Laster. And guess what? For the second race in a row, Greg has been hole-shotted and is on the trailer in the first round. 691 to a quicker but losing 690. You saw the difference on the clock. 4 100ths at the starting line.
Boy, this is a tough break for Greg Anderson. Taylor just does a great job getting off the starting line. 0.22, that's a very good light in pro stock. And just Greg Anderson ran a little bit quicker but didn't quite have enough. You see him, he just wanted to make sure he made the perfect run down that right-hand lane because we saw Allen get a little bit sideways. He didn't. We don't see the tire spin. I mean, maybe he might have softened the clutch up a little bit too much, but a 690 is still not a bad run in these conditions.
So that's the second car to win in the left lane. And guess what? Laster will go up against the other guy who won the left lane, Jake Coughlin. And it'll be Laster with the lane choice. Now here's Jake's brother, Troy.
All right, Troy.
And before we talk more about these guys, let's check in with Bill.
Greg Anderson right out of the car. You can't do that anymore.
I know that. You know, I can't seem to do anything right lately. I rolled up there, I put my glasses in, they fogged right up. I didn't have time to take them off. I should have took them off, threw them on the floor. Fogged right up, by the time the lights come on, I could hardly see anything. It's no excuse. It's just another slip up. I cannot do that anymore. I will get it back next race.
What a difference from 2 years ago when he won his first national event right here.
I bet you he won't be wearing the glasses anymore. Almost dead even off the line between Warren Johnson and Troy Coughlin. And the professor with a 691 at 200 miles an hour. And the #1 qualifier advances to round number 2 and picks up some more valuable Powerade points. As Greg Anderson, number 2 in the points, is already eliminated. Arrow indicates who's got the lane choice. Krischer, Kurt Johnson on the left side. Laster and Edwards over on the right. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll meet up with Tony Schumacher, driver of the Army of One. It's been a wild weekend at Thunder Valley here at Bristol Dragway, and next week we're going to rock and roll again at Summit Racing Equipment Southern Nationals over in Commerce, just outside Atlanta. Saturday qualifying 9:30 Eastern. Sunday NHRA Today in the finals at 4:30 Eastern. That's 3 hours. Log on to ESPN.com for more. Now, this week's Powerade Profile focuses on Tony Schumacher. We sat the Sarge down to talk about his struggles this season and what is it going to take to get this team back on track.
It's not, to me, what everyone else thinks, but for our team, for our guys that wake up and work that hard every single day, they want to do it. They want to knock these guys down. Bernstein and Dixon are running great. So is Coletta. You got Corey Mack out there, Darrell Russell. There's a lot of bad hombres, but you're right. The 2 Bear cars are running outstanding. We need to knock them down. We need to not only knock them down, but become what they are right now, because we're expected to. We got the best of all parts, pieces, crew, brain trust. We got 5 crew chiefs amongst these 4 cars. We definitely are a better team than we're showing, and whatever's holding us back will be found, and we will come out ahead. It is frustrating because not only were we world champs in '99, but in 2000 we had a great chance to do it again. Unfortunately, had a bad crash, and it put us out. We don't know how it would have ended up, but it was a heck of a drag race. It was a heck of a race to the finish, and it would have been great for the fans to watch what would have happened. So then to come out the next year with just a few changes. We had a tire change, a few other small changes, and to just struggle. From a world championship team to struggling team, that was brutal. We've struggled with little things. And when we get those figured out, the car is going to run great. You have to go rounds. You can't win a race without winning first round. You also have to have a little bit of luck. I can pedal a car really well, but I can't pedal a car better than a guy not smoking the tires, or a girl. You need to be out there. You need to be at least on par. You need to win the races you're supposed to win, and you need to win half of the ones that you should never win. You have to make it happen. It's what we did in '99, and it's what we have to do again right now.
And unfortunately for Tony, the struggles continue. For the 10th time in the last 17 races, he was eliminated in first round. Now, another team that's just the flip side of the coin is Larry Dixon. No matter what you throw at them, they come out and they win.
Well, Marty, without stating the obvious, I mean, that's why they're the Powerade champions. They come out last night, have the wing basically break away on that, and have that disastrous crash. And the team is just so good. They're able to stay focused, get that thing back together, and come out here in the first round and get a round win. I mean, that's just a tremendous achievement. I mean, they played it low-key, but the fact of what they did is a tremendous job. Went out there and did exactly what they want to do, run that 460 lap time, which is exactly what Dick LaHaye wanted to do. Make sure he had a baseline. Don't hop it up too much. Don't detune it too much. Just go out there and run that nice number and have a baseline to work with. Now he's got that confidence. He's going to go out there and just really start tuning this race car. And a lot of weight off his shoulder after that first round win.
Well, and we're going to find out what's going to happen with second round when we come back to Thunder Valley here at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley National. Track Back brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles.
Mike, we know that the 16 quickest cars advanced from qualifying to Sunday eliminations, but how are the pairings of those 16 cars determined?
Well, Parker, it's based on your qualifying position. Number 1 versus number 16, number 2 versus number 15, 3 versus 14, all the way on down to your number 8 qualifier versus your number 9 qualifier.
In that first round of eliminations, then, how did they determine the run order for those first 8 pairs of cars?
Well, that's based on the number 1 qualifier. He has first choice out of anywhere of those first 8 pairs. If he wants to go first, second, third, fourth, all the way down to 8th, that's his choice. The second qualifier gets the next choice all the way down to the number 8 qualifier, who will get whatever's left over, and normally they're the first one to go out because nobody wants to be the first pair on the racetrack.
And what about lane choice in that first round of eliminations? How is that determined?
Lane choice goes to the quicker qualified car.
Okay, so that's pretty simple then in the first round. Number 1 will always have lane choice over number 16. But what about the quarters, the semis, and the finals? How are the run orders determined and lane choice selected for those rounds of elimination?
Well, that's based on your elapsed time from the previous round. In the second round, the quickest car from the first round would have first choice of where he wants to run out of those 4 pair. He will also have lane choice, obviously. The quicker car of the pair that are matched up will always get the lane choice.
Well, now you know the hows and whys of those pairs of cars appearing at the start line during Sunday eliminations.
And let's show you how Top Fuel stacks up in round number 2. Corey Mack has the lane choice over Brandon Bernstein, Darrell Russell over Clay Milligan, and then Larry Dixon over Jim Head and Bruce Litton over Doug Herbert.
Larry Dixon's crew was up all night long, bolting together this brand new Murph McKinney chassis, but the work didn't end there. Not even after this morning's warm-up. Right up until pulling into the staging lanes, they had to make last-minute changes. Now, we've seen tuners make adjustments to the timers for ignition, for fuel, for clutch, but because atmospheric conditions had changed enough, and for crew chief Donnie Benner's computer had said it was time to change the pulley on the blower system, which meant they had to disassemble in the staging lanes the idler pulley, the upper pulley, change the belts. They've just finished that work as Larry Dixon was being strapped into the car, and they're ready to run in the quarterfinals.
Thanks, Parker, for that update. Let's take a look at some of the top fuel specs.
Well, in between runs, we're talking about all categories. If they don't hurt any parts on the particular run, they're still in top fuel. Going to change all 8 pistons and rods. They're going to put a fresh set of cylinder heads, a new clutch in it, pack the parachutes, and add about 12 gallons of nitromethane.
Time now for second round action, and it will be Corey McClenathan. And whoa, he's had a big problem on the burnout. Look at it, the car got sideways over near the wall. Now he's trying to back it up. I don't think he hit anything. And he'll be up against Brandon Bernstein, who will be over in that left lane. Now, take a look. You can see where his tire marks went.
Yeah, you can see it's hard to tell what happened, but I mean the tracks make a hard right as he's doing the burnout, spinning the tires, but it's hard to determine what actually happened. Sometimes, you know, the tracks are a little bit crowned and the car just starts to wash out, and you kind of stay into it, and it just kind of keeps going sideways.
And there is the track temperature. Dave, you've got more?
I do. As you can see, track temperature 114 degrees right now. That's something that has the general, Tim Richards, a little bit concerned over there in that left lane. The lane that is not necessarily preferred here. He says the big concern is going to be getting off this starting line. Now, keep in mind also that the NHRA did some work on this racetrack before coming here. Water blasting the first 350 feet, removing all the rubber, and working with a little diamond grinder to get some etching, some feeling in that left lane. But at 114 degrees, it's starting to get the attention of these crew chiefs, guys.
Well, this is the warmest it has been all weekend long. Tuner's nightmare. Well, it's a pedal job, and Brandon Bernstein gets to the line first. 5:17 at 2:57. Corey Mack at a 6:19. Dave Reef?
Well, General, you told me you were concerned a little bit, and it looked like those concerns were right on the money.
Well, nobody's seen this track in the daylight, you know. We all made good runs here, but it was dark and the track was cool. Now the track's going to come out. Well, we're going to have to deal with it.
Also looks like your driver had to pedal for the first time this year. You did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's going to get some practice here.
Let's take another look at the pedal job.
Yeah, you're going to see Corey smoke the tires first, and then right after that, Brandon Bernstein, you saw him get out of the throttle and cleared up and then start spinning the tires. Did a good job this time, you know, for a rookie. First time, got out of that throttle. He knew he was still in the lead. He was looking over to see where Corey was. He could tell he was ahead, so he wasn't going to give up.
Yeah, and Brandon's living large. He has made it to the semifinals with 2 runs over 5 seconds. Some days it pays to be lucky. And take a look at that. Not hot, straight, and normal by any stretch of the imagination. But Brandon Bernstein, and we take one more look, has now defeated McClenathan for the 3rd time in 4 meetings. Let's go to Bill.
Talking to Brandon Bernstein, and you know, we know you can drive the car when it hooks up, but the question was, could you finesse it? And boy, you just did it without any problem.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks a lot. But you know, this Budweiser Lucas Oil Mac Tools car, you know, we struggled there first round. It just kind of, you know, flew up. It was going fine, and then this round it went out there and yeah, just hazed the tires, and I had to pedal it. But we got the win light, so that's all that matters right now. We're on to the next one.
Brandon Bernstein going to the semis with a 5:47 and a 5:17.
Thanks, Bill. As we turn our attention back to the starting line, it will be Doug Herbert up against that man right there, Bruce Litton. Dave?
Bruce Litton, we talked a little bit ago, grew up in this part of Tennessee until he was age 10. Not quite confident enough to tell me that Doug Herbert better watch out, but he did say he liked this racetrack. When he brought out a top fuel dragster in the mid-90s, the first track he came was here. And the very first time he was here, he qualified #1, went all the way to the final. So Bristol's a very special place for this guy.
Well, the one downside for Bruce is he has never defeated Doug Herbert in their 3 prior meetings. But if you're Doug Herbert, you got to be worried about that thing blowing up behind you. It's happened the last 2 times. This time, Doug makes it down. 461, 314 miles an hour. So now he is 4-0 over Bruce Litton. Still, 2 more pairs of top fuel here in second round. Look at this crowd. Stay with us. Let's take you back 1 year ago. Larry Dixon right on this track up against Darrell Russell. Dixon nails down a 4.64 at 317 miles an hour. And remember, that was that stretch where he was just unbeatable. Now he comes into this race after crashing hard yesterday. We've already shown you that. Getting past Don Lampus in the brand new car. And let's talk a little bit about that pulley change.
Well, normally what they're going to do is the conditions get hotter, the air is not quite as good, so they'll take that supercharger pulley, put a smaller pulley on it, will basically turn the supercharger faster, force more air into the engine. They like to keep the boost about the same on every run, 40 to 45 pounds, and then just take away the horsepower by taking away some ignition timing, and taking some fuel away from it. Remember, the more fuel you burn, the more horsepower you make. So by taking timing away, it can't burn as much fuel, and that takes away some horsepower.
Jim Head having one of his better weekends of the year.
Yeah, Jim Head looked really good. I mean, even that 461 the first round, he blew it up before the finish line, but that thing was on probably another 458, 459 run.
Dixon's in trouble. So's Head. But Jim Head is going to his first semifinal since Memphis of 1999 with an ugly but winning 5:19 at 280 miles an hour. And for Larry Dixon, it is the second time in 28 events that he has gone out back-to-back in the second round. Dave Reef.
Walking with Dick LaHaye. Dick, not to be, I guess, unexpected with only the second pass on that race car.
Well, I mean, what did people expect? I think we did marvelous, disqualifying the thing and then winning first round. And, you know, this happened to us in Houston, so maybe there's a trend here.
It was a heroic weekend for this team, though, guys.
And that trend he's talking about is going out in second round. You can tell he's not too happy about it.
Yeah, but there's no question just for them to get into the first round. They did a great job. Watch when Larry pedals this race car and lifts the front end. He actually hit the throttle 2 or 3 times to make sure that thing recovered. Unfortunately, the clutch grabbed the engine and basically drove it up. And by then, he just couldn't catch Jim Head. You could see Jim Head out there backpedaling, trying to get his car together, and he thought he could have a chance to get it, but he knew he had to get the tires recovered because he was far enough behind. And watch when he gets back on. He's not going to go full throttle. He's just kind of blipping the throttle there to make sure that thing gets hooked up, trying to squeeze into it easy. He got it hooked up, but unfortunately, it hooked up a little bit too much and carried the front end, unloaded the tires on the wheelie bars.
Well, the new chassis now been indoctrinated. That was a wild ride. And let's check in at the far end with Bill.
It wasn't the quickest run of the day, but on a skillet for a racetrack, a 461 duck, that gets my vote for the run of elimination so far.
Well, I don't know about that. We'll see what we can do next round. Hopefully we can go down the track. It looks like we maybe got our gremlin figured out that was costing us a lot of money, and I don't want to end up like poor my buddy Dixon, you know. That's what the fear is when you start blowing stuff up. You knock tire out, knock cling out, bad deal. Snap-on guys are out here, and we're happy to be here.
What do you think, Mike Dunn? That was really impressive, wasn't it?
That was very impressive for the heat of the day. We see a lot, and we noticed kind of a trend. In the right lane, they seem to be smoking the tires a lot earlier than they did in the previous run. So it's one of those things where maybe the right lane, they think maybe better downtrack, but early in the run might not be the case.
Clay Millican now up against Darrell Russell. You saw that Darrell made it to the finals here last year. So far, the 3 prior victories have been in the left lane this round.
Darrell Russell with lane choice took the right lane because they ran that 458, which was low ET of the first round.
And the choice pays off. 466, 303 miles an hour, and 512 for Clay Millican. Let's check in with Bill.
It has not been often that I've had to say to Larry Dixon at 2 races in a row that today wasn't your day.
No, I mean, it's just in spite of everything that's happened this weekend, we had a good day. You know, we brought this brand new race car out, Miller Lite team. These guys did a great job. Went out there on 460 just like nothing flat, and we come out here. Track conditions changed a little bit. Obviously, we didn't compensate enough for it, and lost the tire smoking race. I always hate losing those too because it's up to the driver. I mean, that's that's what you get paid for, and he did a better job than I did.
Still very impressive with what they accomplished this weekend.
It absolutely is, Bill, as Larry heads on back to the pits. Show you the matchup. Darrell Russell going to his first semifinal of the year, and he's got lane choice over Brandon Bernstein. Doug Herbert has the low ET of the round, and he's got the lane choice over Jim Head. And look down there. It's time for Funny Car when we come back to Thunder Valley. Hey, guess what? We're coming your way, Atlanta, next week for the Summit Racing Equipment Southern Nationals. And then May 15th through the 18th, Englishtown for the K&N Filter Super Nationals. And we'll cap off May, Topeka, Kansas, the O'Reilly Summer Nationals. Hope to see you there. Checking the Funny Car ladder, it'll be Tony Pedregon and Whit Bazemore with the lane choice on the left side. Over on the right, John Force and Cruz Pedregon. Now, we talked about Larry Dixon winning here last year. Well, so did Whit Bazemore. In Funny Car, he was up against Gary Dencham. Ran a 493 at 310 miles an hour to take home the Wally. And now Whit will find himself over in the left lane. Tommy Johnson Jr. will be in the right. Now, Whit had lane choice, and he's gone into that left lane.
I was just going to mention that. It's very interesting. You know, Lee Beard probably didn't like what he saw with all them dragsters spinning the tires right off the starting line. Figures that the the left lane might rate a little bit of an edge, especially early in the run. So let's see how this plays out.
Just fine, thank you. Bazemore goes 495 at 303. You saw TJ getting into all kinds of tire smoke as he crosses the line 6.3 seconds later. And there is Don Schumacher, a very happy team owner right now. Dave Reef?
Big dilemmas for you guys. Right lane, left lane, right lane, left lane. You guys chose the left.
We like the left because there's some bumps in the right track down there I'm having a hard time negotiating with. So I prefer the left right now.
So Whit makes it into his fourth semifinal of the year, and you can see there are some bumps, and according to Lee, well, he feels they're worse over in that right lane.
Yeah, that's right. Whit did a great job. He got a little bit out of the groove towards the left, got some tire spin, put a couple cylinders out, but still got to the finish line first.
Let's talk a little bit about Funny Car.
Well, Funny Cars are basically the same as their top fuel counterparts. Now, once again, this is if they don't hurt anything on the run. They're going to put 8 pistons, a rod, cylinder heads, a clutch, pack the chutes, add that 12 gallons of fuel. But if necessary, I mean, they could change a whole supercharger engines, whatever it takes in that 75-minute time allotted.
Let's check in with Parker Johnstone.
Marty, you can see the police car leading Darrell Russell back from that victory. A real morale booster for this team. You should have seen the high fives, the congratulations as the crew turned back from the start line. The other crew in the van pulling Darrell Russell back. They are waiting, ready to go. The parts are set out. Wayne Dupuis, crew chief, is already inside, waiting to get hold of the data to prepare for this next round of eliminations.
And they have reason to celebrate. It's been a long time coming, getting into the semifinals for the first time this year. Here's a guy who's no stranger to the semifinals, Tony Pedregon. This would be his fourth of the year if he wins this round up against Dean Scusa. And he's had good success against that man right there. Tony has won 22 of 30 prior meetings.
When you got to rate the edge too, because you know, Tony Pedregon, we talked about earlier, he didn't look like the Tony he did at the end of the year in previous races, but boy, coming into this race, his car has looked flawless.
Now Tony had lane choice, and John Medlin decided to move into the right lane.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, the choice has mostly been in the right-hand lane, other than Lee Beard, but it's one of those things. John Medlin feels that if it don't itch, don't scratch.
Well, it pays off for Medlin and Tony Pedregon. A 492 at 309 miles an hour. Bill?
Main event, Mr. Bazemore, for you and Tony next round.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, they're a stout team. They're running awfully well, but we'll see what we have for them. Matco Tools team and Dodge, everybody. My teammates, Scotty Cannon and Gary Selzy in Oakley, and Tony, of course, in the Army car.
I want those guys to win almost as I want myself to win, and that's hard for me to say, but it's true. And, you know, we've got a great team. We're tough, and those guys are awfully tough. We'll have it all together here soon.
Everything's riding on the shoulders of Whit Bazemore for Team Schumacher. Only one car left over there, and John Force has got 2 left.
He'll race Tony next. Tony's got the lane choice. Let's go real fast. Just that quick. It'll be John Force coming up next. There's a young fan here at the Mac Tool Thunder Valley Nationals, along with thousands of others. Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, Parker Johnstone. I'm Marty Reed. We're so glad you're with us here at round 6 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Boy, this race in 3 years, every year the attendance has increased by like 30%. Saw in the newspaper where Bruton Smith is planning on adding more bleachers, and it looks like they need them. Time for John Force and Del Worsham now. There's the body up. Let's get more from Dave Reed.
John Force, a guy who has actually changed his burnout ritual from a guy who stood up here at the starting line for the last few years. You kind of get used to the way John Force does his burnout, whacking the throttle very, very hard, bringing the RPMs up immediately. Well, this time in first round and even in last round qualifying last night, it was a steady increase in the throttle, Mike Dunn. So it's a very big change.
Well, I think that goes to the fact it's a lot smoother. It's a lot easier on the blower belts. They've had a lot of problems with the supercharger and the belts coming off. And I think when you whack that throttle, just whip that belt, it just puts a little added strain on there that you don't need to have.
John has won 34 out of 44 matchups. But Del was 4-3 last year. Great race, and Del Worsham does it again. 491 to a 497, 307 miles an hour, and the nightmare continues for John Force as he will not pick up ground in the championship chase. Take a look at the incrementals. John was first off the line, first to 60 foot, but by half track, all Del.
Boy, Del Worsham looks just like he did in Houston. The heat of the day, that car was going down the racetrack and running good. You give Del a little leeway, and he's going to figure it out. John Force knows that, and unfortunately, he had to watch that Checker Shucks Cragen car at the other end hit that finish line first.
I'm trying to see if he put out a cylinder at all. Right there, he's hot straight. There it goes, right there, left side. So that's the difference, and Del's into his 3rd semi of the year. Let's check in with Bill.
Well, once again, Tony Pedregon, you're going to be the ball carrier for Team Castrol today.
It gets a little lonely here. Perfect day for a little Powerade. Warm conditions, warmer than we qualified in. It's tough to get to see John get beat. He still is and always will be king of the hill with that action group, and still a Mac Tool event, and we're still here, and that's good news. So overall, John can still be proud of this team because we're still here and we got a little more work to do.
And he has done it all year long.
Darrell Russell's crew hard at work during the 75-minute turnaround. And Darrell, we know what your crew does. We know what Wayne Dupuis does with his tuning duties. What does a top fuel driver do during that 75-minute turnaround?
I'm sure all the drivers are a little bit different, but mine is pretty much I will pack the parachute, make sure everything's good back there. I mix the fuel and also put it in the car and make sure everything's good there. And then after that, I kind of just set my mind straight and go up and practice on my practice tree. And usually by then, it's time to go out there for the next round.
And this driver's smiling, Bill, after that much-needed shot-in-the-arm victory.
And this one isn't. John Force, you said it yourself. You're on your way back, but not quite there yet.
Well, you're dodging a loose racetrack down there, and I don't know if we pulled it back too far. I didn't see him, and I thought this whole heap was going to be okay. And it just seemed like it nosed over down there about 800 feet, and it wouldn't charge. So we're still snake bit, but 1 car left out of 3, and counting on Tony to do his job. There's a lot of good kids out here trying to win, and over big picture is we want to win the championship for all these sponsors, Castrol, Ford, Mac, put in the money. I'm just not carrying my weight in this family right now, but sure in the hell going to fix that.
Dave.
That brings us to our final pair of funny cars. Cruz Pedregon in the left lane, Johnny Gray over in the right. And now for Cruz Pedregon, it'll be interesting to see how this run goes. They had a last-minute clutch plate change after they warmed the Advanced Auto Parts car because of a stripped stud. So Mike Dunn maybe going up there a little bit with a cool clutch.
Mike, that could definitely be at a disadvantage, you know, not having that clutch hot enough. But, you know, sometimes if you run the combination, you know, with enough leeway, it won't hurt too much.
Cruz has lane choice. He's in the left lane. and he's up in smoke. So's Johnny. But Gray's going to recover quicker, a 5:42, and both Checker Chuck Cragen's cars are in the semifinals. They'll go up against each other. Dell will have the lane choice. Let's go back and see what happened to Cruz.
Well, the clutch plate limit could have cost him. It definitely spun the tires as soon as he hit the throttle. I mean, never had a chance. Even though Johnny Gray spun the tires down track, there just wasn't enough momentum for Cruz, even if he could have pedaled it and got to recover to run down Johnny Gray, even though he was spinning the tires.
So Johnny Gray is going to his second semifinal of the year, and it'll be up against Del Worsham, his teammate. Tony Pedregon, look at this. Big showdown after the glare down on Friday and the incident from Houston. So Tony will have the lane choice over Witt, and Del with the lane choice over Johnny Gray. Pro Stock, the factory hot rods, when we come back here to Thunder Valley. Our next stop is next week at the Summit Racing Equipment Southern Nationals, qualifying Saturday at 9:30 Eastern Time, then Sunday, NHRA Today, back at 11 a.m. Eastern with Bill Stevens. 3 hours of final eliminations, 4:30 Eastern, all from Atlanta. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Let's take a look one last time at Johnny Gray flying down the track, pedaling, and doing just a little bit better, and he's at the far end. Bill.
Yes, I'm with Johnny. I don't have to run in the force to win this race, Gray. He did it again.
Yeah, we're having a little luck today, but hey, old car just keeps running down through there. You know, we throw the rods out of it the first round. I don't think we heard it then, but you know, all we're going to do now is go back, take them Mac tools, tune that CSK hot rod up, and hey, we're going to send Dale in the trailer, all right?
I love it. Thanks, Bill. Here's Pro Stock. Krischer and Kurt Johnson have lane choice on the left side of that ladder. Taylor Laster and Mike Edwards on the right side, and that Laster-Coughlin matchup will be the first one that we'll focus our attention on down the starting line. These two have never met in Pro Stock. And Jeg will be over in the left lane, Taylor in the right. Now for Taylor Laster, his last semifinal came back in Pro Stock trucks when he went on to win at Joliet back in 2001. Both of these guys cut identical 0-22 lights in the first round. Laster, and look at Coughlin all over the track. It's over. Richard Maskin, the crew chief, engine builder for Laster, used to be with that man right there, Jeg Coughlin. And it's Laster with an 011 light, a 694, 200-mile-an-hour rip. And it was no contest.
Boy, Taylor Laster, like you said, right from the start. Look at Jeggy. That thing made a hard left-hand turn, probably when he pulled second gear. Let's see, it started out to the right, and then, boy, it just moved to the left, I think, when he pulled second gear. Let's look on board. Let's watch. Look at him sawing that wheel, trying to keep that thing straight, but by then, Taylor was long gone.
Remember, in the first round, he said it was going to the right. This time, it goes hard left.
Yeah, but you know, it started right first and then went into tire shaking. I don't know if he pulled the gear right there and it made a hard left-hand turn, and he definitely had his hands full.
One more view from the back, and yeah, you're right. It was washing out to the right.
And maybe that was because of the first round it did that. He might have just basically overcompensated for that because of that first round run he made.
Well, all I know is that that'd be a pretty good bull ride at the NFR in Las Vegas. Now it's up to Bruce Allen and Kurt Johnson. They're next up. Kurt will be in the right lane. There he is. Bruce over in the left lane.
And we saw Bruce do about the same thing as Jeggy did in the first round, but he was able to get the round win with the 7:40 laps time. But he did a heck of a job reeling that thing in, having it about as sideways as he did.
Kurt Johnson, 690 at 201, is going to his fourth straight semifinal here in 2003. Bill is with Bill.
You're racking them up. Let's see, Greg Anderson, no problem. Two-time champ Jeg Coughlin, we'll get rid of him. What a day you're having.
Yeah, it's a good day. Everything's just rolling together. It's one of those days where you just do your thing and it all comes to you.
Been killer on the trees, just had an 11 light.
Well, I'm trying. Hope I can keep it up.
He does all his talking with his right foot.
Fans continue to stream into the pits. I'm down in Del Worsham's pit area. And I don't think there's any other funny car driver that savors facing John Force more than Del Worsham. But now you've got the opposite problem, probably someone you'd rather not face at all, your own teammate, Johnny Gray. And for the first time, both of your computers are in the same trailer. I walked in your trailer with a blue shirt on and I almost got thrown out. What are you going to do?
Well, you know, there's not a bad problem to have, yet it is a problem. You know, and I knew when putting both computers in our trailer that someday this may arise. But we'll just keep the team separate. I mean, you know, look at their data, don't look at mine.
All for one, one for all. What happened to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely, it is. You know, at least we are going to have a car in the final. Let's just hope it's a red one.
There you have it, Marty.
Thanks, Parker. Down on the starting line. It's time for Greg Stanfield in the left lane. Mike Edwards in the right. With a great light, an 015 light, runs a 6.948, which is 8 1,000 slower than Greg Stanfield. So technically it is a whole shot victory as Mike was first off the line. And take a look at the launch.
Yeah, Mike Edwards, 0.02 of a second off the starting line. Yeah, he didn't need quite that much, but he definitely needed to have the advantage. And great reaction time, 15,000 of a second from being perfect. Gets that thing down that racetrack at a 6.948 seconds, just under 200 miles per hour.
That's what it looked like at the stripe, and Mike Edwards by 1/1000th of a second gets lane choice over Taylor Laster. Now let's show you what happened when Kurt Johnson pulls around, and there's Taylor Laster after the interview, and whoa, that's getting a little too hot for comfort. Nobody hurt, luckily. Back at the starting line, our final pair here. Ron Krischer, closest to you in the right lane, and the professor, Warren Johnson. Dave?
Well, Marty, if you remember back to NHRA today this morning, I told you that Warren Johnson was getting set to make his 899th pass on that race car. Indeed, it is a 2003 Grand Am body, but the Jerry Haas chassis that is underneath of it actually goes back to December 18th, 2001. It debuted in Bradenton, Florida, and now it's set to make its 900th pass. And while that may sound mammoth, Warren Johnson told me that back in the mid to late 70s, he ran a car that had 2,000 passes on it.
Well, he's going to get one more, courtesy of Krischer's red light. And Warren goes 6.902, 200 miles an hour, and he moves into his third semifinal of the season. Bill?
You're just mowing them down like cordwood, you know.
I don't know. This Jerry Haas Chevrolet's been absolutely awesome in the heat of the day. Houston, it got hot. It's getting hot here, and this thing just keeps on going down the racetrack.
Hey, how come you and your dad, only two cars, when you guys come around the turnoff, there's always flame coming out of the pipes? What's going on here? Can I have a closer look at your setup?
I don't know. I just drive it.
Oh, yeah, typical. Well, he'll race the breadwinner in the next round.
Here's the semifinal matchups. Lane choice goes to the son, KJ, by 2/1000th of a second over Dad. And then Mike Edwards has lane choice by 1/1000th of a second over Taylor Laster. Let's go to Dave Reef.
And let's look forward to Top Fuel semifinals, where Jim Head will be making his first appearance, well, in this millennium. Of course, he's doing it with the help of that guy, three-time Top Fuel champion Alan Johnson. I walked in, I said, "You feeling lucky today?" But you said, "Shoot, what's luck got to do with it?"
You don't need luck. You got AJ here. No, the car's trying to run real good. We're going to run good first round. We haven't had much practice in the heat. That was the quickest pass on my in history to the 1,000 feet for me in the daytime. So I felt, in the nighttime maybe, I don't know. Car's running great.
And they'll be ready to go. Hadn't been to a final since 1999, not a win since 1997, Bill.
Warren, it's been the story of the season. You and Kurt are the gold standard in Pro Stock. You're proving it again today.
Well, I don't know about the gold standard, but we've definitely improved the performance of his AC Delco Cavalier and my GM Performance Parts Grand Am. But it's consistency. That's our biggest factor. That's what we're really trying to achieve. And I think we're getting there a little bit at a time. We're definitely not where we want to be, but we're better.
Go whole shot that kid.
Well, if he can win next round, he would take over second place in the points, bumping Greg Anderson down to third. Stay with us. We're coming back. Now let's flash back to Houston. Remember in the semifinals, Tony Pedregon felt that Whit Bazemore hung him out, even though the video doesn't quite show that. He made that charge, and boy, last Friday he got a long glare from Whit. We talked to both of them.
some things were said by Tony that weren't very kind about me or the team, and they were said on television, they were said on the PA, and they were said in the newspaper. And, you know, I don't know what we did to offend him.
I saw Whit this morning, and he looked pretty upset, and I thought, maybe I'm going to take up a collection, all the funny car drivers, and send this guy to anger management.
And I did catch Tony Pedregon earlier today accepting money from fans for Whit Bazemore's angry management counseling. And Tony, you guys meet in this next round.
Well, I try to have a little fun with it. I don't think it's real serious. I'm heavily involved with the AAA and the youth and education program, so I'm going to set a good example. Sometimes tempers flare. I know he doesn't really mean. Maybe he needs a hug or something. But for some reason, a lot of the fans watch the ESPN show, and they're actually donating money to the cause. And I told them we'll put a smile on Bazemore's face yet. We may not do it in this next round, but if nothing else, if we can't get enough money, maybe I'll get him one of those European carry-alls. It's actually a purse, but don't tell him.
What's going to happen when you stage?
Same thing as I always do. I'm not going to play his game. If he wants to play mine, then that's okay. But I've never really done that on the starting line. I've never really engaged in it, and I'm not going to start now. So my deal is to come here and to race and try to get Ford and Castrol and Mac Tool somehow in that winner's circle.
And Dave, I guess the big question is, if you're the points leader, the #1 qualifier, can you be intimidated? Because you know, when the ambers flash, there's no time for trash.
Absolutely not. And Whit Bazemore says absolutely no way he's going to let this stuff bother him right now. You're ready to just go up there and do your thing and get the win this time. Remember the win?
Yeah, we're all the Matco Tools team here in Bristol. We'd certainly we'd like to have the win, obviously, but guys are doing a tremendous job today. And you know, anytime you get to the semis, it's a good weekend. But I tell you, that's a tough team over there, and we've got to take them out, you know. But right now we're just talking to some Powerade people about Lance Armstrong, and you know, we're having a good time. We're enjoying the racing today. So it's a great track, great fans here, and I think a lot of them are on our side. We feel pretty good about that.
Are we going to pull right in and just stage this thing and go like normal?
You know, I can't tell you what we're going to do, but you know, I think they may have showed a weakness last time we raced, and whether we choose to exploit that weakness this round or not, I don't know. You know, we'll just have to see when we get up there.
Time to watch and see, guys.
All right, and we will find out in the not too distant future. Stay with us. We're coming right back to Thunder Valley. Back here at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley Nationals, and that is the covered bridge in Elizabethton, Tennessee. It's built about 1885, the oldest in this part of the woods, and still in use, as you can see. From that peaceful, tranquil setting, well, let's crank it up for about 6,000 horsepower as they're doing the warm-up in the Snap-on top fueler of Doug Herbert.
Yeah, here they are. This is a typical warm-up. Usually the guys will change the procedure a little bit, but they're all trying to achieve the same objective. Get that engine idling, check the idle RPM, check the engine temperatures, they check the timing. The guy just pulled the timing light off the engine, make sure they got the initial timing just right. They may check that again. They'll check forward and reverse sometimes. You see Doug right there, he's got his hand on the brake, just letting it probably just pulling a little bit of pressure on there to warm the brakes up. Remember, the carbon fiber, if they're cold, they don't want them to work very well, but he didn't want to pull too hard to put too much heat in the clutch. So there's kind of a fine adjustment there for him on that.
And of course, this is the final step in that 75-minute turnaround that we've been talking about all day, including our early broadcast and in through this edition.
You know, one of the things they're going to check, they're going to seat the clutch. They're going to try to get that clutch seated. Some drivers will crew chiefs will rev the engine up. Other ones will whack the throttle. Doug Herbert used to hit the throttle to seat. I don't know if he still does or not. We're going to see right here. He's going to grab both hands. Let's see what he does. Gets ready. They're actually, what they're doing there is they're checking the load on there with the fuel all the way on. His hand over here was turning the fuel on to see what kind of load it is. They haven't seated the clutch yet. Now they're going to probably seat the clutch. There he goes. Whacks that throttle, man. One more time. There you go, Doug. That's the way to do it. That'll get the crowd going. Man, that'll pucker you right up. But what that does is see those clutch plates. So when he hits the throttle on the starting line, then that thing's going to just launch hard and make that great run, hopefully into the final round.
Yes, you'll have to forgive me now. I have to go unpucker. We got to take a break. We'll be back. Back here at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley Nationals Round 6 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series, and it's time for semifinals in Top Fuel. Will it be Jim Head or Doug Herbert going to the final to face either Darrell Russell or B Squared, Brandon Bernstein? Now it's going to be Brandon and Darrell up first. Let's talk about streaks. Larry Dixon has been leading the points for 63 consecutive weeks. That stacks up with 31 for the Miami Hurricanes. Serena Williams did it for 42 weeks to the present date. Of course, Tiger Woods is king of everything at 192 and counting. But if Brandon Bernstein wins this round, the streak is over. He will take over the points lead. Dave Reeve?
And he will be the first guy to do that since his dad, before Larry Dixon, won the 2001 championship. But they are quick to point out they have to keep it in perspective here, because following this race, there are still 17 more to go. They are focused more on this round than the points lead. If the points lead come, that's great. But they definitely are more focused on going to a final here than they are taking a points lead.
And before these cars were pulled to the line, tuner Wayne Dupuis for Darrell Russell was very busy. He made 2 clutch timing changes, 1 ignition timing change, and then he made a rear tire pressure change.
Pedal fest. Who's going to get to the far end first? Brandon Bernstein does it. He's your new points leader. The streak is over, and Brandon has won his way to the finals with 3 runs of 5 seconds or more.
Well, you're going to watch here, Darrell Russell, as soon as he hit the throttle, that thing was up in smoke. Brandon Bernstein went a little bit farther out, was able to get the thing to recover. Watch it from down track. Does a real good job the first time, gets back on it, lifted the front end, spun him hard again. He pedaled that thing 3 or 4 times to get it to the other end. Still ran a 589. That's a good job.
Dave?
And Kenny, all we can really do down here at the starting line is shake our heads. Wow.
I'm telling you, that's a heck of a way to take the points lead, isn't it? We've just been real lucky today, all day long, all 3 runs. I hope we get it together in the final here, but, you know, the guys work hard. He drove hard. It's just your day. It's your day. I mean, it's almost embarrassing to do it, but we're proud of it.
Kenny Bernstein, Top Fuel car owner in the championship week.
Thanks, Dave. Take another look at this. The kid's learning quickly how he has to pedal this car.
Yeah, he did a real good job in the initial one. It shook the tires, and when he got back on it, it actually picked the front end up and looked like it was going to hook up, then spun again. He had to back pedal 2 or 3 more times to get it to the other end. But look at that car bouncing, and he did a great job to get it to the finish line ahead of Darrell Russell, though.
Take a look at the crew, and all right, we'll take it. Yes. Let's go to the far end, Bill.
Hey, you can do this.
Well, thanks, but no, you know, that's just an awesome job by this team. You know, it's tough conditions right now. The sun's out, beat down on this racetrack, and this Budweiser Lucas Oil Mac Tools car, it's just not hooking up right now. But Tim's going to get it for the final. I can feel it. It's just a little struggle right now, but we're going to get it.
Are you learning, though, when this happens? Are you getting a feel for what it takes to keep the car hooked up?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's and it's seat time for me. It really is. You know, that's all it is. I just haven't been in the seat and haven't had the runs, and this is good race day experience for me. Unfortunately, it's using up a little bit of parts.
You know, guys, we're coming through that Midwestern swing through the heart of the summertime, and what he learns now will come in handy as we get into the hot weather and this championship run gets a little more intense.
Absolutely right, Bill. He's into his 3rd final already in his young Top Fuel career. One of these 2 guys is going to his 1st final of 2003. For either one of them, it will be their 16th career final. Will it be Jim Head in the left lane, Doug Herbert in the right? Boy, Doug Herbert, nice pass. 466 at 313 miles an hour. He definitely has lane choice by a bunch. You saw Jim Head literally go up in smoke at the hit of the throttle. So as Doug turns the corner at the far end, here is the matchup, and you can see a 466 definitely nails a 589 in anybody's book. Stay with us when we come back. It'll be time for the floppers. There's Whit Bazemore and Tony Pedregon. These guys aren't best of buds right now. Stay with us. Back here at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley Nationals, Taylor Laster's team putting some last-minute touches as they're making their first semifinal appearance of 2003 in Pro Stock. That yet to come. Right now it's time for semifinals in funny car. Will it be Del Worsham or his teammate Johnny Gray going up against Tony Pedregon or Whit Bazemore? And let's set the scene for this. If you have missed any of the jawing that's been going on between these two, you've missed a lot. I mean, Tony has now got a collection going, courtesy of the fans that have seen our show, for anger management classes for Whit. Whit has stared down Tony on Friday night, all because of what happened back in Houston. And as Johnny Unitas used to say in team meetings, when they ask him, you want to say anything? He says, talk's cheap, it's time to play. Well, it's time to race. Dave?
Marty, I think what Whit is most upset about, besides being maybe called out by Tony on national television, is the fact that there's this perceived unsportsmanlikeness that he did in that final round at Houston. But we've all looked at the tape, and it was only between 2 and 3 seconds. And Mike, I have a question for you. Bottom line is you've got a 7-second auto start. So really, does sportsmanship come into play when you're pulling into the staging beam?
Well, the 7-second auto start's basically for pro stock. You know, just as a gentleman's agreement in the fuel ranks, usually about 3 or 4 seconds is proper etiquette that you want in the stage after the first guy pre-stages. And Whit felt that looking at the tape, he did that last week, and that's why he felt that Tony's remarks were unwarranted.
Will there be any gamesmanship? Both top bulbs are now lit. Tony's in, Whit's in. Here we go. The win light goes to Bazemore. 494 at 309, and Whit now moves in to second place in the points, right behind Tony Pedregon. Dave?
Round win awful bigly, but you guys also move up to second in points with that monstrous win.
I'll tell you what, it's great to see that Dodge outrun those Ford. You know, those guys that's one of the best teams in all of motorsports, John Force Racing is, and to be able to beat them, you know, it's a real tribute to my team.
It's what Don Schumacher hired all these guys for.
Well, they're into the finals, and let's take another look.
Well, this was all Whit Bazemore, 200ths of a second off of the starting line. Kemper stuck right in the groove. 494 in the heat of the day is not a bad run.
And as he crossed the line, let's go to Bill.
Before we get a word with Whit Bazemore, we want to talk to Doug Herbert. When you ran the 461 in the second round, Doug, we had a feeling the car was getting dialed in, and you just proved it again.
It's coming around. I don't have to duck quite as far when it gets down there to around 1,000 feet. We got plenty of snap-on tools to bolt it together, but we'd prefer not to use all of them. We're just happy to be here going to the final. Bernstein, he's a nice kid. I like him. I really do. And but you know what? When the helmet goes on, you just hate everybody in the air lane. We got to go do good and go out here. And my buddy Billy Williams still laying in a coma up in Cleveland, and I hope he snaps out of it.
Thanks a lot, Doug. And remember, that other car you'll be racing is not gotten down the racetrack yet today.
No, that's right, Bill. And there's Tony Pedregon. He's still the points leader, but Whit's going to be able to close the gap on him. And Whit's talking to the track PA. He's going to his 30th career final, second of this year. Who will he be facing? Well, it'll be one of the CSK cars. Either Del Worsham in the left lane or that man right there, Johnny Gray.
Yeah, Johnny Gray. We see crew chief Chris Cunningham on the left there getting under there. Done a good job. We talked about earlier. He was struggling on race day. Seemed to have a little bit better handle on it today. But, Del Worsham, I mean, he's definitely looking very good. And he had lane choice, and he took the left lane because that was the lane he was put in after in that matchup with John Force. He ran a great 491, so obviously he likes what he sees with that lane. Figures, let's stay in that lane, try to run the same thing, and try to make Johnny Gray just flat beat us.
Well, you saw it's 7 for the right, 6 for the left, so pretty even right now. Johnny goes up and spoke about half track, and Del runs 492. That's going to be good enough to give him lane choice into the final at 308. Let's check in with Bill.
Whit Bazemore, how badly did your team want that win? They were down here waiting for you, and as soon as you crossed the finish line, they erupted as if you just clinched the championship.
Well, no. And if and when, and it's going to be when, one of these days or years, we will clinch that Powerade championship. But right now, it's an important victory. You know, they're a tremendous team over there. They're leading the Powerade championship. And, if we want to win it, we're going to have to beat them and John Force and Densham and all those guys. So tremendous job. I've got a great team behind me, Matco Tools and Schumacher. And, of course, my teammates Selzy and Cannon and Schumacher Jr. It's a great organization, and I'm glad we won. Believe me, it feels pretty good in light of all the things that were said last week, but we feel pretty good.
Hey, remember, after the first round, there was only one Schumacher car left. The Top Fuel car was gone. 2 of Witt's teammates were gone. He's still here.
And he's into the finals, although he will not have lane choice. Take a look. That's Dell and Johnny going by. Dell's got the lane choice as he's now going to his 3rd final of the year, 22nd of his career. And time for Pro Stock. There you see Taylor Laster and Mike Edwards. We're coming back. Looking from the far end back to where the smoky burnouts of Pro Stock at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley Nationals are taking place in the semifinals in the factory hot rods. Mike Edwards, Taylor Laster, Kurt Johnson, and the Professor, Warren. In fact, it will be father and son going up against each other in this first matchup. WJ will be in the left lane there in the yellow Grand Am, and you can take a look at reaction times. The best 5 right now. Warren has turned in tied for top honors. Kurt has the best elapsed time so far by 1/100th over Warren. And the mile-an-hour marks, well, you got it. These guys love to turn up the juice. In fact, they have track records right now at the first 5 stops on tour. They do not own this one, though, right now. They've still got to run a little bit quicker. 2:01.58 by Ron Krischer is the top mark.
And Kurt Johnson got lane choice by 0.02 of a second, and he's chosen that right-hand lane.
Red light, WJ. And Kurt is going to his 4th final of 2003, his 44th of his career. He runs a 692 at 200 miles an hour and extends his points lead.
Well, I think the old man just wanted to whoop the kid, and he got a little low ranges and got a red light by only 0.07 of a second. Very close, but unfortunately, you're going home. Kurt Johnson, once again, is in the final round.
And as they cross the stripe, let's go to Bill.
Del Worsham receiving congratulations from the Schumacher gang, including Whit Bazemore and Gary Selzy. And, well, you've been to a couple of finals already this year. You ready to rubber stamp one here?
Man, I sure am. You know, you just go out and run as hard as you can. I think we've lost by a total of 26,000 so far in final rounds this year, and it's just been close. Tomorrow's my wife's birthday, so maybe there's a little luck here for us.
I know 8 candles that are going to be lit in the final round.
Good one, Bill. Mike Edwards now. He'll be in the right lane for this last semifinal in Pro Stock up against Taylor Laster. Taylor, a rookie in Pro Stock action, but looking to go to his first final here, but he has been in, well, 2 others in Pro Stock truck.
This is a good matchup. You know, Mike Edwards, he got the lane choice by only 1/1000th of a second and chose that right-hand lane. But Taylor Laster's done a great job. I mean, this is a pretty evenly matched race right here.
Richard Maskin doing the engines for Taylor Laster. Only his 6th race in the factory hot rods. At the stripe, 693 for Mike Edwards at 198 miles an hour, beats a 694 for Taylor Laster. And so Mike's going to his first final of 2003 and the 23rd of his career. Take a look at the margin. Wow.
14/10,000ths of a second. That's the difference at the stripe.
And you can see it was Taylor first off the line, first to 60 foot, but by half track, it was Mike Edwards, and where it counts at the finish line. Let's go to Bill.
Well, you and Mike Edwards have had some real wars over the years, and we're going to get another one in just a little while, but we're trying to remember the last time your father fouled out against you.
I don't know. I was really worried about him. I was having 57s and 59 lights. He goes out there, cracks out a 0-1-0 on the last run. I knew he'd be tough, and it got down to whoever would let the clutch up, but all we know is Dad Motor was going to the final there, and hats off to his crew and my crew. We're doing a fantastic job with both cars, reeling out a lot of information back and forth, and it's paying off here.
4 straight finals for Kurt, and Mike Edwards, well, he will not have an easy time of it against that AC Delco car.
That's for sure, as the lane choice will go to Kurt Johnson by 1/100th of a second over Mike Edwards. And before we close out this segment, let's send it back to Bill so we can get a word with Mike.
Mike Edwards, how the worm has turned. First few races of the year, we were waiting for you to break out, and it finally happened here in Bristol.
Yeah, it's been a rough season so far, but we're hanging in there tough, Bill. A lot of people thank Mac Tools for sure. They're big supporters of mine. So, we're in the final round at Mac Tools race. They support us a bunch. So we've got 60 young live kids here today rooting me on, and I'm going to try to win this race for them.
You can do it, too. One of the all-time great hole shot artists in pro stock history.
That's a great program, that Young Life program. The work is already underway in Whit Bazemore's pit. Stay with us.
And Marty, this has been a huge day for Brandon Bernstein, and not from the fact that he got his first #1 qualifying effort, not because he took the Powerade points lead. The best thing that happened to Brandon Bernstein today is he got an education to what's coming in the summer months ahead, and that is pedaling a race car. And the icing on the cake, he's still around, and that makes his dad a pretty happy guy too. Let's go over to Parks.
Dave, looking ahead to the funny car final, it's going to be the red Checker Shucks Cragen team versus Don Schumacher Racing. It'll be Del Worsham pitted against Whit Bazemore. But even bigger, perhaps, is that if Whit Bazemore prevails, it'll be the first time since 1998 that a Dodge funny car has won an NHRA event. Marty?
Thank you, Whit. As we get ready to head to break, we have to send our best to Larry Hogue and his family. Larry's our finish line camera. He lost his brother earlier this week. Our thoughts are with all of them. Finals coming up when we come back. Back here at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley Nationals, it's time to run for the money. And it's Pro Stock Finals. First on the line, will it be Mike Edwards going for career win number 12 or Kurt Johnson? Career win number 26. Let's update the new Cavalier. Since he debuted it in Gainesville, take a look at this. Now in 4 races, he's going for his 3rd straight win. He has won 14 of 15 rounds. Dave Reef?
Yeah, but Kurt has himself a Cavalier that may be a little sick underneath the hood as he's got a crankcase vacuum problem that's going to steal as much as probably 20 to 25 horsepower out of this machine. It's something they probably could have fixed, I guess, if they've changed the motor, but maybe they felt like they didn't have time. So the quick fix, a little epoxy putty. We'll have to see what goes here, but Kurt's could definitely need a couple at the tree.
And Dave, there was a little bit of drama down here at the start line because Mike Edwards was very late getting here. I asked his wife, Lisa, what happened, and she said, well, we were just slow getting the turnaround done.
And remember, that's a new engine program for Mike Edwards. Began the year with Todd Patterson power, but recently switched over to Frank Iaconio racing engines. You see FIRE on his hood scoop.
And these two have met, well, this year. KJ's won 2 times that they have met, but in finals, Mike Edwards has won 3 of 5, and we'll find out. Here we go. The win, Kurt Johnson. Nothing wrong with that motor. 689, 200 miles an hour, 3 in a row, Parker.
Warren, you and your son, Kurt, are amazing. 6 events, 5 finals, 4 ones. You guys are dominating Pro Stock.
Well, I don't know if we're dominating. We're just getting a lot of good breaks. And his AC Delco Cavalier is definitely running strong. It's consistent, and it's consistently fast. So he's got a good racehorse there. My Pontiac Grand Am, it's coming around. Those GM performance parts are working in there, and we're getting a little.
Working they are indeed.
Take a look at the incrementals. You'll see it was the advantage on the line from Mike Edwards at the 60-foot mark and at half track, but at the stripe, KJ with that horsepower drives around, and there is the margin of victory. A 95-point lead now. The road through Pro Stock goes through Kurt Johnson, Bill.
And not only is Kurt Johnson winning races, but he's doing it in a dominating fashion. But KJ, I got to ask you, was there really something wrong with that motor?
Oh, you wouldn't believe what happened before that run. I looked at the vacuum scale on the computer, and we lost all engine vacuum, so it was down like 20 horsepower. The next thing I looked on, I broke my zipper on my pants, which has been a problem all day, so we had to put some new AC Delco pants on here. But, thank Mac Tools, but the Craftsman car pulled it out today. AC Delco, Chevrolet, everybody involved here, they all did their job. Kevin Horst, Joe Cottle, Dad came over, and if it weren't for his horsepower, we wouldn't be here. And everybody involved from Sugar Hill, Georgia.
Kurt will get the trophy now. Jennifer Hanley of Mac Tools. There's Ben Reiling from Powerade. Tony Merritt's alongside. Let's go over to Dave Reef.
Right now, Mike Edwards a little bit beside himself, but still a very courageous day.
Yeah, we had a great weekend. I just want to win. Want to win for these kids. I had like 60 young live kids, and they just wanted to get them all in that winner circle. But you know what? Had a great weekend, and I just want to thank Mac Tools, John Aiden. What a great representative he is to have on your car, and I appreciate him. And Terry Adams, Frank Iconio, all my guys, Lisa, Al, Josh, Duco. We had a great weekend. I'm just thankful. Thank the Lord for everything.
So as Mike consoles himself, we turn our attention to the final in funny car. Whit Bazemore going for career win number 13. Dell trying for number 12. And it will be Dell in the left lane. He shoved Whit Bazemore over in that right lane. Remember, Lee Bearden said he didn't like that right lane.
Yeah, and originally everybody was taking the right lane, but Dell Worsham got put over in that left lane in the second round against John Force. Laid down a good number, took it in the semifinals. So it just goes to figure, well, if he doesn't like the right lane and I like the left lane, I'm for sure going to put Whit Bazemore in the right lane. And I'll tell you one thing, this is not going to be an easy race. This is going to be just as tough as Tony Pedregon, because Dell Worsham really seems to have a pretty good handle on this racetrack right now.
Dave? Let's dig back into the history books of drag racing. You will find a final round between these two combatants at this racetrack, but it happened back in an IHRA race in 1992. And in that final, Whit Bazemore broke in the water box. Dell Worsham got the win, so Baze definitely wants to avenge that loss.
Let's talk a little bit about what Dell did a couple of weeks ago in Houston. Remember, he was dead on every run, had a very consistent race car, and came up short in the final round. In fact, he mentioned it earlier today after the second round win. Well, he's done basically the same thing today. 490s, bing, bang, boom. And this is one race he really desperately wants to win.
And if he wins, he moves into third in the points chase. A loss leaves him in fourth. Bazemore will be in second, no matter what. This time, 492, 310 miles an hour, and the Checker Shucks Craig and Red team is in the winner's circle, Parker.
Chuck Worsham, congratulations, first win in 2003.
You know, it just feels great. Hey, we got the big dog's barking for you. That's Terry. And we got a great team. All guys like to win. You know, they work hard at it. And I mean, real consistent car is a great team, and we got one. Checker Shucks Craig is just doing great, man.
And as we take another look at the run.
Great win for Dell Worsham. You see Whit Bazemore before 60 feet. He was already blazing the big Goodyears. Tried to pellet to catch up, but it was to no avail. Dell Worsham right down that left lane with another 492. Great job.
Tony Pedregon's point lead is now 67 over Whit Bazemore, 101 over third place Dell Worsham. And there you get super slow-mo on what happened to Whit. You can see him pedaling.
Yeah, tire smoke very early. Watch the butterflies right there. He's trying to get in and out of that thing, trying to get that thing to recover. He got to recover for a little bit, and then drove into tire smoke again, gets back out of it, figures his time is done.
One more look as we go to the far end. Bill.
Dell Worsham in Houston 2 weeks ago, you talked about it. Your dad gave you a great tune-up. You just couldn't put the bow on it. You did it today.
We did. You know, definitely got our feelings hurt last weekend, 2 weeks ago in Houston. But today, Checker Shucks Craig, Mac Tools being one of their races, I sure was glad to beat that other car. What a car. I'll tell you what, the only person who could have lost this race was me, and luckily I didn't today. Thanks.
Whit Bazemore shaking hands, almost with a repeat performance of this race a year ago, but still the bottom line is earn some points.
Yeah, you know, it's still a good day. It's still a good day for the Matco Tools Dodge team. And someone told me that we're trying to get Dodge their first victory since '98 with a Dodge funny car. But let me tell you, the Hemi engine's been winning an awful lot of races throughout the history of this sport. So like everyone. So it's you know, it's certainly disappointing for our team, but Worsham and those guys are awesome, and you know, they're right there. I mean, look where they are in the points. It's something else.
Time now to turn our attention to the final race of the day. Doug Herbert looking for win number 8 in his career. Brandon Bernstein going for number 3. And Brandon's going to be in that left lane. Doug Herbert with the lane choices gone in the right lane.
Well, it just goes to figure because Doug Herbert's definitely had the better car. He ran in the 4-second range all day long. 480 in the first round when he blew up early, but that was probably going to be a 460, and then came back and ran another pair of 460s. So he's definitely got the advantage, but don't count out Tim and Kim Richards. That man right there, you give him too many chances, and he's going to be able to step up and get you. But this should be a good race.
For the third time in his 6-race career, Brandon Bernstein is a winner. No 5-second pass this time. 462, 320 miles an hour. Parker?
Tim Richards, you saved the best for last. Win number 3, and you come away from this weekend with the points lead. Congratulations.
This is probably the luckiest day I've ever had tuning on any kind of race car. Brandon did a great job. He proved he can pedal his car, and he kept us in the race. Otherwise, we would have been out of here.
Well done.
Brandon Bernstein now leads Larry Dixon by 21 points. Doug Herbert moves into 4th.
Well, what a great tune of a 462 in that left lane. Doug Herbert had problems early. The thing just didn't have the power when he hit the throttle. Can't tell. Oh, he had to backpedal a little bit. It must have went into a little bit of tire shake, and that's what cost Doug Herbert early in the run. Brandon Bernstein, on the other hand, no problems whatsoever. Nice and clean, straight down the racetrack. 462 in the final at 320 miles per hour. That's a great win. He did a great driving job today and deserved it.
And take a look. There are the points. The arrow indicates who's moving up and who's moving down, and that's the top 5. Bill?
Brandon Bernstein, without any doubt at all, I think you came of age today as a top fuel driver.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I just can't say enough about this team. We struggled all day. It was a pedal fest, a lot of the runs. And then Tim said, hey, I'm going to make this change, and it's going to go down there. And I had all the faith in him, and I knew he was going to do it. And all I can say is that Tim and Kim and the guys, they did an awesome job. They worked their butts off this weekend because, when you're blowing up stuff, there's a lot of work going on in this deal. And I can't say enough about all of our sponsors, Budweiser, Lucas Oil, and especially Mac Tools. Mac Tools Race, it's all for the distributors out there. We love you guys. Thank you very much.
Dave.
Doug Herbert took the hat off and said, bad time to smoke the tires. I think he hit it on the head.
Yeah, sure was. Yeah, Snap-on team had a good weekend, and we're happy. And Britton Smith and Jeff Bird have sure a nice facility here, and just happy to be here. It's close to home. Would have been a little bit better, just one thing, but obviously Bernstein's have a great team, and they got us today.
We're going to wrap things up when we come back. Look at Mike Edwards. He's still disconsolate about losing to Kurt Johnson. Losing is never easy. And before we get out of here, I want to remind you about next week. We'll be in Atlanta, Commerce actually, for the Summit Racing Equipment Southern Nationals, qualifying Saturday on ESPN2, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Then Sunday, we kick it off with NHRA Today at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with host Bill Stevens, and 3 hours of final eliminations at 4:30 in the afternoon. For Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reef, Parker Johnstone, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us here at the Mac Tools Thunder Valley Nationals at Bristol Dragway. RPM Tonight is coming up next right here on ESPN2. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next week from Atlanta. So long, everybody.